Hello and welcome to the Overflow podcast. My name is Craig Booker. The title of this episode is You Reap After You Sow. A lot of the material for this week's episode was inspired by Craig Groeschel's book, The Power to Change, Mastering the Habits That Matter Most. Note, I will talk a lot about mental health, but please note this is not a substitute for therapy or mental health care. I am not a counselor or physician. If you need help with mental health challenges, please find a qualified mental health professional. The title of this episode is You Reap After You Sow. Just to kind of summarize, we are now kind of heading into the last section of this book. Well, this particular week's message is the last in section 4, and I think there's a section 5 of The Power to Change. We've been talking about this concept of sowing and reaping. So in the last episode, we talked about you reap more than you sow. And the week prior, in the episode prior to that, we talked about you reap what you sow. And so this is the last kind of in this series or this section, and we're talking about you reap after you sow. And we're looking at this, we're looking at habits from the metaphor of sowing seeds and reaping, and a concept that would have been, really well known to people in biblical days is the idea of sowing and reaping. And farmers know that you not only reap what you sow, but you also reap after you sow. You plant in one season, and then you have to wait until another season for the harvest. And the same thing is true in life, but we often miss this, and that's why we get discouraged. That's why we wrongly conclude that small decisions don't matter. It's why we're tempted to quit. And so, you may think that it's silly to think, if you think of planting a crop, no matter what it is, it would be silly to think that you're going to plant some seeds and then stare at the ground waiting for them to come up right away. I mean, it sounds kind of goofy. And I think, Craig Groeschel used this in the book, this illustration of, a farmer wouldn't take some seeds, plant them in the ground, water them right away, and then expect them just to start producing fruit right away. It sounds, that sounds kind of silly, that example, but far too often in our life, we do that. That's exactly what we do. And so when we're starting habits, we start a habit and we do that habit or that routine for a week, and we expect all of this fruit to come out of that 1 week. And that is much like a farmer, planting the seeds, watering it, expecting it to sprout right away. So I thought that illustration was kind of good in making that clear and how we need to adjust our expectations when we're going about making change in our life. Craig Groeschel gave some examples in the book. He said we get started doing something, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's going to marriage counseling to improve our marriage. We start eating right. We start saving money by not eating out. Maybe we make all our meals at home. And, after say a month, we get discouraged because we aren't meeting our goals. Maybe we still fight with our spouse. Maybe we only lost 1 pound after going to the gym, week after week. Maybe we only saved $300 from, making all our meals. By comparing this metaphor of sowing seeds and reaping, we as, people trying to make positive changes in our life can see how, somewhat silly it is for us to start a habit or something new we're trying to improve and expect results so quickly. Quote here, it says, "Remember, getting the life you want will be the result of countless seemingly small decisions done consistently over time. They will feel insignificant, but with every action, you are choosing a direction." That's Craig Groeschel. We have a scripture, Galatians 6:9. It says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we'll reap a harvest if we do not give up." So we're deep into starting habits and trying to stop things that are unhealthy habits. And It seems like we're going really in depth on all of this, but I think it's really important because unless you've just successfully been able to start new habits and not had any problems, uh, somewhere we're getting it wrong. And so we need some wisdom speaking into our lives to help us realize why this is important and why often people quit. It says, when your marriage or health or finances or spiritual impact are struggling, you think it's bad and it will never be better. You grow weary of trying to make things better. You tried to change, but it didn't work. And that confirmed your belief that you are pathetic and will always be stuck. Those are lies. Next thing is, your hard work, your discipline, your sacrifices, and your faithfulness are never wasted. Your efforts are just being stored up. James Clear calls the waiting between sowing and reaping the plateau of latent potential, or the valley of disappointment. The valley of disappointment, we feel like all of our trying has been worthless. No, this work was not wasted. Clear writes, it was simply being stored. So if we think of this idea of all of our hard work being stored up, and we're going to reap the fruit of all of our hard work in a later season. He gives the example of one day you wake up, this is from Craig Rochelle, and your marriage is better than ever. You're leading a Bible study. Your skinny jeans fit again. I don't have skinny jeans, but I guess that's a thing. You're debt free. You've been doing all of these small habits week after week, and eventually you see results. These people around you that are in your life, they didn't see you getting up early, working out, praying, fasting, going to your support group, saying no when you wanted to say yes, training, confessing, sweating, holding your tongue, writing encouraging notes, putting your phone down, getting counseling. He says, don't give up. So people around you are not seeing all these little things that you are doing to make changes in your life. All of the hard things they don't see. They see the start, maybe they see the end, but they don't see all the hard parts in the middle. He's encouraging us don't give up believing, don't give up praying, sharing your faith, fighting to stay pure, getting up early, saying I love you, asking, walking forward, having faith that God will free you from addiction, studying, forgiving, climbing out of debt, sacrificing, choosing what you want most over what you want now. Don't give up. You won't see the results you want today. Be patient. You planted the right seeds. The harvest will come. It won't be because you had the best intentions or high hopes, but because your actions determine your direction. Our exercise for this week, in first question, it says, where have you given up and need God's help to get started again? I think we've all identified areas that we want to improve. We've maybe started some new habits. Maybe some of them you stuck with. Maybe some of them just fell away. Where have you given up and you need God's help to get started again? Number 2, where are you struggling and being tempted to give up and need God's help to endure? By now in our study, going through all this, making all these changes, we've been at this for a while, and it's important that we reflect on those areas that we're struggling with. Maybe we've been pushing through, doing all these things, these positive things in our life, or we're just really struggling. It's really easy right now to give up. Where are you experiencing a harvest and reaping more than you have sown? Maybe you're seeing the benefits of all of your hard work. Our principle for this section is, you'll reap a harvest if you don't give up. Psalms 1:3 of the New Living Translation says, they are like trees planted along the riverbank, bearing fruit each season. Their leaves never wither, and they prosper in all they do. So in this section, this is just really the push to not give up. You're doing so good at what you're doing. The hard work that you're doing is going to pay off if you don't give up.
That's all for this episode. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.